Rockford's home for Classic Rock, 96.7 The Eagle. Good morning, I'm Double T. I'm talking to Doug Logan. He's the former general manager. He was the very first general manager of the BMO Harris Bank Center / Rockford Metrocentre, celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. One of the stories I hear about all the time is the legendary Ozzy story about him having the heart attack. Do you remember that night and what happened?
I do. Yeah, it wasn't a heart attack. It's been called a lot of things, but it wasn't a heart attack. Ozzy had trouble with his vocal cords, and there was a legendary doctor in New York that would take singers, rock and roll singers, who were having trouble with their voice, and he would inject something. I don't know what the hell it was, but inject something directly into their vocal cords that would make them more pliable and allow them to overcome, they all strain their voices horribly. Ozzy was in, I'm going to say Sioux Falls or in Des Moines or in Cedar Rapids. I forget where in Iowa. He was having real trouble with his voice. He was headed to Rockford. He had a day between shows, and he flew to New York, saw this doctor, and he had this stuff injected into his vocal cords. The last thing the doctor said was, just don't talk a whole lot for 24 hours. You should be fine for this next gig you're playing. He said, but don't drink any alcohol. Whatever it was that he put in there doesn't mix well with booze. Of course, he arrived in Rockford and immediately uncorked a bottle of Jack Daniels and down most of it. It was a reaction to the medication he had taken for his vocal cords, together with his imbibing before the show. He got to about the third or fourth song. There's actually a tape of this, by the way. Somebody made a bootleg tape, and it's got my remarks from the microphone on the tape. I've got it somewhere in my archives. One song, he was singing the wrong lyrics to whatever it was that the boys were playing behind him. And my security chief called me up. I was down in the settlement room, and I rushed upstairs. And the minute I got to the stage, he just collapsed. For a lot of these shows, I used to have EMTs in the building itself. But I rushed up on the stage, so the house lights were killed. I got to him. By the time I touched him, I was the first one to get to him. He was cold. I was scared. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I've been around a lot of very dicey issues. I fought with 101st Airborne. I thought we might have a real catastrophe on our hands. So I got the EMTs to him. I said, get him out of the building and get him down to Suites, which was Swedish American Hospital. And we had him out of the building in 5 minutes. Now I'm faced with 7,500, 8,000 Ozzy Black Sabbath fans who are not the most polite in the world. I went to the microphone and I talked them out of the building. We had no property damage. Nobody got hurt. It was really kind of interesting because somebody who was writing for the Register Star came up to me afterwards and they said, that was amazing. We've never seen anything like this. He says, you got everybody out of here unhurt. And he says, I got to applaud you for that spontaneous speech you gave with the microphone in your hand. And I kind of nodded afterwards, and that speech was not spontaneous. I'd rehearsed that in front of a mirror several times in thinking all of the bad things that could possibly happen and that I would be responsible for. I had practiced that before. So it was it was not spontaneous at all.
Well, it's good that you were prepared, though. That's the way to do it. That was Doug Logan. He was the very first general manager of the Rockford Metrocentre / BMO Harris Bank Center, celebrating their 40th anniversary. It's Rockford's home for Classic Rock, 96.7 The Eagle.